Hey, well, welcome. I am going to try to tell you a little bit about a couple of the pins I have found that seem to work well for tying balanced leeches and balanced minnows. I think I've got a couple that are good, and I'm going to share that with you today. Thank you. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you some things that don't seem to work. Let me get a prop in the background here. It's a pin with a couple beads on it. So these are really nice pins for jewelry making. But what happens is they're made for jewelry making and they bend. They're supposed to bend because you're supposed to be able to bend a loop in them with your pliers, but you don't. Here's some really nice pins, assorted head pins. I got them in the jewelry department. Don't get these. They are too flexible. They are too, they're designed to bend. So you'll tie a really great fly and you go like this, or you catch fish and the thing just bends over. Here's a couple of other ones. These are really nice pins. They're great for jewelry making. They don't work for tying balanced leeches. Well, you can tie a great balanced leech, but it won't be durable because it will bend. You don't want it to bend, okay? I know you know that. So what does work? Went to the hardware store. They call these eustachian pins. Maybe they're brads. Here's the important thing. It says 18 by 1 inch. That 18 means the wire gauge, how thick the wire is. If you go to a 17 or a 16, it's thicker wire. That's too thick. If you could get a 19, it would be super. Got these. These are what? These are dressmaker pins, and these are 20 gauge, not 18. And so one of the things I'm going to show you is the difference in the head size. That's really important. You see the difference in those? I'm going to zoom in. Okay, we got the dressmaker. I'm reading the dressmaker pin. That's the skinny one. That's 20 gauge. The eustachian pin, it's 18 gauge. See how much difference there is? Now look at the difference in the head size. So what does that mean? I'm going to show you with a couple of beads here. If I want to tie a small balanced leech, if I want to use an 1/8 inch bead, it will just barely fit 1/8 inch bead on 18 gauge. And the head seems a little large. It's doable, but you look at it's going to bulk up the fly. Now let's see how it works with the 20 gauge. That's a little bit nicer. It doesn't pull all the way through. It's not going to say you're tying on a size 10 or 12 or even a 14. It's not going to this 18 gauge is going to be thicker than the hook diameter. So this 18 is too heavy for a small hook, 20 is just right. But if you get to, let's try a 5/32 bead. Let's see how that works. Okay, 5/32. We're still in business. And that actually kind of hides the head in there. So 5/32 is fine. Let's try 3/16. Guess what? So 3/16, it does work. Okay, what's the next size after 3/16? Go show how much I know. I thought these bigger beads were going to come right off the end, but they don't seem to. So it makes me wonder if there's variation in the head size on these individual pins. But these dressmaker pins seem to work. But I think when you're using a bigger bead, I think that the 18 gauge just works better. You're going to be using it on a bigger hook. I think the 18 gauge is good for bigger beads, and I think the 20 gauge is maybe right for 5/32 down. Let me see if this bigger. Here's 5/32. So it works. So the only thing I've found so far is that the pins look kind of weird on an 1/8 inch bead. And if you go down to a bead that's smaller, if you go down to a 7/64 for a very small balanced leech, you need this 20 gauge. So I hope this has been helpful. 20 gauge, 18 gauge, smaller head, bigger head. Both of these are very firm. Neither one will bend. Have fun tying your balanced leeches and minnows, and I hope you get a chance to get out there. So one of the things I forgot to mention is the fact that it makes kind of a nice effect to combine a bead with a metallic bead with a glass bead. And one of the things you'll notice is that if I can find them here, apparently I can't. Oh yeah, here they are. The 18 gauge, this is a large glass bead. The 18 gauge really doesn't fit on the 18 or on the large glass bead. Now you may have some different beads. These are both larges. Let me, there's quite a bit of variation in the size of these. Oh, here's a large that does go on the 18 gauge. Maybe I had a wrong size in there. Let's try this. No, it varies by, so I know this is a large, it's an orange. It's not fitting on there. Let's try to find another one. Oh, there's an orange that does fit. Okay, so large. Try to find a clear here. This is some of the fun stuff you get to mess with. So here are three, and you can see there's a variation in the size of those. Some of the larges did fit on the 18 gauge, some did not. For sure, when you use the glass beads, you're okay with the 20 gauge. The wire diameter is fine, and so is the head size. So I hope this at least lets you narrow things down a little bit. Dressmaker pins and eustachian pins, make sure you're not using the jewelry pins because they're going to be too bendy and flexible.